Hello, this is Nour yassain, and today we're gonna discuss the relative clauses, defining and non-defining ones. You could find this grammar in your student book, page 63. So, you are familiar with relative clauses, so I'm gonna make quick revision for the previous information that you have in your mind, like we use who for people and which for things and where for places, when for times, and whose for position. As we have said before, we could use these relative clauses to join two sentences together. The new information that we're gonna deal with in this class is the concepts of defining and non-defining relative clause. I remember that I have told you about it, but in this class we're gonna dig with more details. So, according to the diagram, as you can see it, we have the relative clauses, we have the defining and non-defining ones. Again, we have who for people, which for things, where for places, when for times, and whose for positions. On the other hand, we have who and which, when, where, and whose for non-defining. So there is no difference between the usage of these relative clauses. The idea is that the defining relative clauses give relevant information. By relevant, I mean that they are important, they are essential. Without them, the meaning of the sentence is not complete. But with the non-defining relative clause, they just give extra information. Let's look at this. Defining relative clauses. We use defining relative clauses to give essential information, which means important, about someone or something. Information that we need in order to understand what or who is being referred to. A defining relative clause usually comes immediately after the noun it describes. Let's look at this examples. The relative clauses is in bold and the person or thing being referred to is underlined. They are the people who want to buy our house. We have the defining relative clause who. Also, we have the person or the people who being referred to. So we use who with people. The other example here. Here are some cells which have been affected. Again, we have which as the defining relative clause and some cells which are related to things. That's why we must use which. Another example. They should give the money to somebody who they think needs the treatment most. Again, we have who, which is the defining relative clause, and somebody is what we are trying to refer to. Let's try to omit or to delete the relative clause. They are the people, and then I stop talking. So I ignore the idea that we have who want to buy our house. The meaning of the sentence is not complete. Morning. In writing, we don't use commas in defining relative clause. This is the most important thing, which can be an indicator for you to understand that this is a defining relative clause. For example, this is a man who takes his responsibilities seriously. This is a man who takes his responsibility seriously. Because of the defining relative clause, you are not able to use commas. Since if you use a comma, then you mean it's an extra information. So this is a man, then I stop talking. You're gonna ask me, what's wrong with this man? So it's not a complete sentence. The non-defining relative clause. We use it to give extra information, which means it's not necessary information. We don't need it to understand who or what is being referred to. For example, Claire, who I work with, is doing the London Marathon this year. Be careful to the comma. Claire, or to the commas, because here we have two. Claire, who I work with, is doing the London Marathon this year. Let's try to ignore who I work with. Claire is doing the London Marathon this year. The sentence is complete, and the idea of who I work with is only giving extra information, and it's not necessary. So, Claire, who I work with, is doing the London Marathon this year. Not Claire, I work with, is doing the London Marathon this year. You can't ignore Claire. Another example. Doctors use the testing kit for regular screening for lung and stomach cancers, which accounts for 70% of the cancer treated in the world. Again, here we have which account for 70% of cancer treated in the world. This is non-defining relative clause, which gives extra information because doctors use the testing kit for regular screening for lung and stomach cancers is enough to understand what the doctors are going to do or what they are testing. The idea here, or to sum everything up, we have defining and non-defining relative clause. Defining relative clause gives essential information, while non-defining relative clauses only give extra information. وأكتر شيء بيميز defining و non-defining is using the commas, as we said before. الفواصل. Non-defining relative clause could have one or two. Non-defining relative clauses could have one or two commas, while defining relative clause have no commas at all. So, in your book, at page 63, as we mentioned before, you're gonna have a grammar question. You need to solve it out as a homework. And thank you.